Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, we're going to hear from Nathan Scott, who is the Executive Director of MassEnergize. I'll leave it to Nathan to tell us about MassEnergize, but essentially it helps communities. It's an online instrument to promote household level and community level climate action. So very much in sync with what we're trying to do as SSC, where we have talked about educating and motivating and enabling residents to take action. Nathan has a great career in nonprofit leadership, and especially in the area of climate change, sustainability, and experiential education. Before taking on the executive directorship of MassEnergize, he was in the New York area, New York State, where he served as executive director of the Cornell Cooperative Extension, overseeing the development of programs and climate stewardship, both residential and municipal clean energy transition, climate smart agriculture, youth development, and community-based climate action. Also, he was executive director of the Thrive Ithaca Eco Village Education Center, dedicated to sharing the levels of sustainability and climate resilience pioneered by the Global Eco Village Network. So a true climate champion. Thank you for your service, Nathan. Nathan, he has an MA from University of Washington, a BA from Oberlin, and a certificate in nonprofit leadership and management from Tufts University. In addition to assorted fellowships and so on, he's the co-founder of Global Climate Corps, a global youth training program focused on skill building for climate engagement. So a lot of nice work here. You're here tonight to tell us about MassEnergize and opportunities for towns like Sharon, and the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Ralph, and thank you to all of you, Cheryl and the whole team at Sustainable Sharon Coalition. It's really an honor for me to be here. I will need screen sharing privileges. So I don't know.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
So yeah, once that's in place,
it's there. You should be able to do it now.
Great, thank you. So no, as I said, it's really a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to be meeting you all. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for everybody else for being here tonight. I'm going to take about half an hour. So I'm hoping somebody, Cheryl, I'm going to ask you if I start running over, flag me down or something. But I'm going to take about a half an hour to talk through what we do at MassEnergize, but more, I want to demonstrate some of the tools that we have with the hopes that, this is something that you'll be interested in. And, so I want to demonstrate the functionality of our tools. And then I'm happy to take any and all questions. And Ralph has asked me to address a couple of questions in the process, and so I will be doing that. But I'm really here at your disposal to really show and support you with your decision-making process around this. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Let me just get my presentation set up. Whoops. Okay, hang on a second. So I need to. It's going back and forth between Zoom and this, and the presentation. Here we go, sharing screen. And here we go, view. So tell me, can everybody see that all right? Can you see the screen, the opening screen? Okay, so very good. Let me just reduce this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we are MassEnergize, and our tagline, as you can see, is energizing communities for climate action. So that is what we do. We really provide communities like Sustainable Sharon, like Sustainable Lexington, like any number of other communities in the Boston area. We work in Medford as well, with tools and resources to really engage your residents in climate action. So what I'm going to do to start with is just show you a brief video that we've just recently put together, and it gives you kind of a context in which we work. So I'd like to take some time to share this, and then I'll go into the rest of my presentation. Hopefully this is going to work okay. Here we go.
We face a climate emergency that requires action at all scales and levels. Together, we can drastically reduce greenhouse gas emissions, create adaptive solutions, and regenerate our environment, economies, and cultures. It's a tall order, but it can and must be done. MassEnergize works with local organizers and community leaders to scale household and community level climate actions. Our work is based on two powerful insights. First, household level action is critical for reaching our climate goals. After all, the majority of greenhouse gases in Massachusetts come from our personal houses and cars. That's no small impact. But while a growing percentage of Americans believe that climate change is real and man-made and demand a response, they've been made to feel small and powerless. They are told that the actions they have the most control over, that is, their household actions, how they spend their money, how they vote, don't actually make a difference. Yet it is these same household members who need to adopt and live with the new technologies and behavior changes required for climate resilience. All the more reason to empower them so that they will adopt and indeed support climate action, making them allies who in turn drive change in industry, the market, and policy. But most households won't act yet. They still need a lot of education, motivation, and support. So here comes our second insight. Local leaders and organizers who are trusted neighbors in the community are in the best position to empower them. And they promote climate actions, offer clear steps, and give reliable feedback on the impact of those actions. Then studies show that there is a fourfold increase in adopting new behaviors compared to messages from a politician, salesperson, media outlet, or scientist. A local organizer's influence is deeper and longer lasting and comes with many additional benefits. But underestimated and under-resourced, these local leaders and organizers operate at a fraction of their true potential to drive behavior change. MassEnergize is unique in that it provides these community leaders with affordable tools and services that greatly amplify their influence. Tools like interactive websites with well-designed, customizable templates to help them hit the ground running, as well as support groups of regional peers with whom they can share information and feedback from their communities. Our websites track a community's impact in terms of households engaged, actions taken, and carbon emissions avoided. Feedback then improves campaigns, builds a growing sense of empowerment, and ultimately drives policy decisions. MassEnergize is committed to serving all communities, towns and cities, schools and companies, any kind of organization where people gather. We charge communities a nominal fee that fits their budgets. And for environmental justice communities, we discount our fees even further. With the help of our partners, collaborators, and community leaders, MassEnergize has engaged over 10,000 households across the state and motivated more than 25,000 individual actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in their homes, communities, towns, and cities. We hold a vision of a thriving planet, supported by empowered communities. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Everybody still with me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. So sorry, let me just, now I have to figure out where I am. Here we go. Just making sure that my screen is showing. Whoops, sorry about this. Let me kind of X out of this. Here we go. And sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble here with
Take your time. We've all been there.
Okay, yeah, and I'm a little nervous. So, okay, so give me just, I think what I'm trying to kind of get out of here and get into my, yeah, sorry, yeah. Okay, just give me 1 second here. I just need to go into my presentation mode. I lost my presentation, so here we go. Yeah. I'm not used to doing this while. Here we go.
And feel free to stop sharing your screen because sometimes that's easier to
Yes,
see what's on your.
Thank you. I'm sorry here. I didn't actually rehearse the going back and forth. And so let me just stop what I'm doing. So yeah, excuse me. I do apologize for this. I'm
Not at all. It's fine. That was a great video.
Okay, so let me just here. I'm gonna stop what I'm doing just so that I can stop the screen sharing. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So give me a second while I
Sure. So it looks like Laura, did you put things into chat? Do you want to narrate any of that? Laura's still there.
I have to unmute myself.
So
yeah, for the Lake Committee, we put in the newsletter the great Girl Scout posters on how to help protect the lake that they did with CP's help. And we really encourage people in honor of Earth Day to download your favorite and put it on your refrigerator and ask other people to do that. The Girl Scouts asked if it could be distributed in the town annual report, but there's a quota of 3 flyers and that had already been met. So it was disappointing that they're not being delivered to every household. So please push people to download them and post them on the refrigerators. And then I also put in a link for UMass Amherst Extension Service soil testing. And for Earth Day, we'd like to encourage everybody. And if you have no lawn, that's great. If you have a bad lawn or a half a lawn, but we just want to get people aware of how much phosphorus is in their soil and that it's because runoff is so harmful into the lake in terms of feeding cyanobacteria. So we're even playing around with the idea of, would people be willing to share their information, maybe on a, an anonymous basis, but like, your street without your street number, and just start to get a database of how much phosphorus is showing up and where it's high and where it's low. And so people will be aware if they are using a lawn service to make sure they're not using phosphorus fertilizer. If they're doing it yourself, make sure that middle number is 0 and you fertilize as little as possible and never before heavy rain. So that's another kind of Earth Day thing that we're encouraging people to do. So how many people might consider doing that?
I would.
Good. I was very pleased
Kevin's
to learn
raised his hand.
my soil was severely deficient, and I thought that was just great in phosphorus, and it's still green, so it's obviously not needed.
So to be clear, like, Laura,
Nathan is back.
But to be clear, Laura, we should go to that link that you put into chat, the $20 one.
Yeah, and then I'll pick up after Nathan, when we do a report. I have some education things to talk about.
All right, make sure that gets into the next newsletter too, because that can get people to.
Okay, great.
Nathan, it's I have to change the timer. Wait a second, I have to change the timer. All right, no, you're all set. I will.
Okay, again, my apologies.
That's okay.
Okay, picking up where we left off. I'm going to need to practice that transition for future presentations. Okay, so you got an overview of what we do, and really, if you want to think of yourselves, we talk a lot about community leaders and organizers in that video, but really those are you, the leaders and organizers of local community groups. So how we see ourselves and our mission is to work with community leaders and organizers to help them scale community level climate action, right? So we are a nonprofit founded in 2019, and we're currently serving roughly 25 communities in the Boston area. So here's some of the lessons we've learned over the course of our, of working with all of these communities. And you can see we've got some kind of 5 important lessons. One is that it's really important to leverage community networks. When you're working with individuals, it's one thing to work as, at the individual level, but we really find that using the networks within communities is so powerful because people know each other. People trust the people who they know. As we all know, word of mouth is the most effective form of marketing because you know and trust the person who is sharing that message. And so we really try as much as possible to leverage that local network of knowledge and people who know each other. The other thing that we've learned is that we want our websites, we want our messaging to be local, and therefore it's all of our tools and our website that I'll demonstrate shortly is customizable. And so really it bonds people together because they can see themselves, they can see their own town, they can see we're not using kind of just standard generic photos or standard generic messaging. It's really very local. We also found that oftentimes when you go to a fair and people are talking about climate action, or there's oftentimes it's a single action. It's solar, it's put solar on your roof or do one thing or another, all of which is important. But we've learned that having multiple actions is really is a very effective way to draw in a wide community of people. And once you take one action, you're motivated to take more. So we always like to offer multitude of actions. We've also learned that coaching and recommendations of vendors helps. People want to take climate action, but they often don't know, who to contact, what the next step is. So we have coaching campaigns or coaching networks that we help, to communities to stand up. And we also find that recommending vendors, people really want to know, okay, who should I use for the solar? Who should I use for a heat pump installation? And as we say here, it's human nature. We like to talk to someone we trust, and we don't want to make mistakes. And one thing that we've found, particularly in relation to heat pumps, is that people really want to, they're making a big investment. If you buy a car and you don't like it so much, okay, well, there's a good used car market and you can probably sell it. If you buy a heat pump system and you don't like it for whatever reason, it's not working, that's not so easy to, pass on. So people really want to, when installing kind of new technologies, they really want to know that they're doing the right thing and they don't want to make mistakes. And then finally, we spend a lot of time thinking about metrics, thinking about how to calculate and quantify the number of people who are involved, what actions they're taking, what impact that has. So we spend a lot of time talking about impact. So we have three general offerings, and all of these are kind of combined into one. So when I say we have three offerings, we have three subsets to what you get when you sign up with MassEnergize. We're not just a software company giving you a software platform. We are really in the business of supporting communities with climate action in a variety of ways. So, our central piece is our web platform, which I'm going to demonstrate shortly. But we also have a community of practice. We gather together all the leaders and organizers of all the communities in a monthly gathering, a monthly call, which actually was just 2 nights ago for in April. And it's a chance for leaders to meet with each other, to learn, share. Oh, what worked for you? Oh, that's great. I'm having trouble with this. And so it's really a place of collaboration and a great deal of peer support. And then finally, we also offer a variety of other tools and resources, which I'll be sharing as well. Best practice handbooks, campaign ideas, social media posts. We provide a lot of resources in addition to the web platform. Okay, so I want to spend a little bit of time talking a little bit about our web platform. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk, these are static slides, but then I'm going to go to the actual sites and show you what a live site looks like. So right now you're just seeing some static pictures. And so here's an example, Framingham. The Energize Framingham here, is one of our communities. Here is here's a few screenshots from their website, from their portal. Things to emphasize are that they use local images. People from Framingham will recognize, okay, this These are folks from Framingham. This is pictures of Framingham. These are not just generic pictures. You can also, join, here we say, join your neighbors in Framingham to take action. So the messages are motivating, and they're written by people who live in Framingham. So a lot of what we focus on is customization. And then we also provide other customized resources so that people in Framingham know that, like, okay, I'm working with a group. I'm not working with some kind of national or international organization here. I'm working with a local group. And so they're a lot more likely to trust the messaging that comes from this site. We also provide an opportunity for users to create a profile, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So, the emphasis is on the local. Neighbors are people, neighbors are people that folks who are being encouraged to take action can relate to. And we also know that communities are all different, and so information that we provide needs to be accurate and relevant. So in terms of how we brand, every community gets to brand itself its own way. If Sustainable Sharon could brand, you could brand yourself in any way you wanted. We would support you with that, but it's ultimately your choice and up to you. The actions that would be on your site are also actions that you decide. We don't give you, and we don't tell you, okay, here's the actions that you need to use. We give you a whole variety of actions, and you can choose which actions you want and which actions you think are most relevant. We also provide opportunities for you to publicize events going on in your local community. So what's going on in Sharon? Okay, Green Sharon, event is coming up. You can publicize that on the site. And you can also share events with local neighboring communities or with all of our entire community all at once. And I'll show that to you as well, how events get shared. So you can make an event just for your community. You can make an event that you want to extend to the entire, everybody else. And I'll show you how we do that. We provide testimonials. And again, these are local testimonials from local people who have taken part in one of the actions or taken part in one of the events. And then finally we have teams, and I'll demonstrate a little bit more how the teams work. But teams, you can, within your community, you can form teams with the school group, against a bowling league, against whoever, a book club, whatever that kind of community is, a sub community within the larger community of Sharon, can form a team and promote some friendly competition. Okay, so now we're looking at another site. This is Energize Wayland, and I'm going to be demonstrating the Energize Wayland website in a minute. But a lot of what we like to show is how communities can actually see their impact. There's a lot of feedback that our site provides, both to the user, so users can see, oh, okay, yes, what I'm doing is making a difference. But it also provides really good data for the community leaders and organizers when you're applying for grants, when you are sharing your story. We've got hard data that comes from your site that will allow you to share out, with your town, at town meeting, or wherever you want to share that. We provide you with that data to allow you to do that. Okay, so I'm going to pause now, and then I'm going to stop sharing just a minute, just because I want to once again not mess this up. And I'm going to show you a live site. Just give me a second here, and I'm going to pull up Energize Wayland, and I'm going to show you their site. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to walk you through the Energize Wayland site, so you get a chance to see what a live site looks like. Okay, so this is the Energize Wayland site, and you can see that their URL is just community.massenergize.com/Wayland. Yours would be /Sharon or whatever you wanted it to be. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing local pictures from local people so when somebody from Wayland comes to this site, they see, oh yeah, that's our town library, the year of the flood. They can recognize people, and they can see that they are on their own town's site. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing, is just, to make sure that people really see themselves and see their town when they're doing it. Now, the next area that I want to show you is these actions. Now, the climate actions are really the heart of what our site is and what our site does. And so here you see, and I'm sorry, it's a little off center. Let me see if I can, yeah, there we go. I'm going to try to center it. Here you can see that there's all kinds of actions. And in Wayland, they're promoting, energy assessments, energy audits with sealing. They've got rain barrels, they've got battery storage. You can see that the list goes on and on and on. These are actions that they have chosen to put on their site, and you can put any number of actions you want on your site. We provide templates so that you don't have to come up with all of these yourself. Any ones that you want to write specifically for your community, you can. Any ones you want to borrow from a kind of basically a library, an archive of templates, you can put on your site. So here's an example. Let's just say we have all of these actions, potential actions, and you can see the list goes on and on. So I'm going to choose, let's just say I want to know, okay, so I'm a new visitor and I'm coming to this site and I want to know more about how I might go about installing rooftop solar. So here I go, I'm at the rooftop solar, and you can see that there's several things I can do here. Here's just a description, and this is something that we can provide you with, just generally about rooftop solar. Here I click on and I can get suggestions of what's the first thing I should do. And in Wayland, they're saying, well, the first thing you could do is consult a solar coach. Then you can call installers. There's all kinds of things that you can offer to the visitor to your site. We also provide an opportunity for testimonials, because we find that people are more motivated when they read from their neighbors. Again, it goes back to this whole issue of word of mouth, word of mouth marketing. So here are personal testimonials from people who live in Wayland. And then if you really want to nerd out on the ins and outs of rooftop solar, we give an opportunity for some kind of a deeper dive. So you can see that actions are a big part of what we do here. Promoting actions, making actions accessible. The other thing that I want to show you in terms of the actions is we also provide these categories. So here you can say, a visitor can say, okay, I am a homeowner in Sharon. Okay, so I want to see the actions that pertain to me as a homeowner, or I'm a renter. And so I want to see actions that I as a renter can do. And you can sort all the actions by whether you're a renter or not, but a homeowner. We also have other categories. Oh, I want to see everything related to transportation. I want to see things related to food. So you can sort your actions that way. You can also sort them by what kind of impact they are. So, low, medium, high, and then what kind of cost they are. Are they, low dollar? So I want to do a low dollar, I want to do a high dollar or a medium dollar action that is also has high impact. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here's a medium cost action that has high impact, and here it is. We've sorted that for you. So it really is a good way for people to really self-select what kind of actions are going to be most appropriate for them. Okay, moving on, the next area that I want to, that we find is really important is, besides the actions, is the events. And I mentioned how, you can publicize anything you want in your community. And here's some of the actions that Energize Wayland recently publicized. So they have upcoming events, and then they have their past events, and they have, different views. So this is just simply a way for you to talk about your Sharon Green Day, talk about anything else that's coming up. And what I said, which is a feature that people really like, is they can share events with other communities. And so here you can see that these are specific to Wayland, but then these are more general. So here is somebody, and see, this has been shared from Energize Framingham, is sharing this event, and here Energize Acton is sharing this event. And so you can share, and you can share your events that are going on in Sharon, but you can also share with your Sharon community events that are going on elsewhere. So you can see there's just a lot of functionality with these. And then I'm just going to briefly mention a couple more. So here is Teams. So these, what Teams are, it's a way for smaller groups to kind of basically have friendly competition with each other. And so, you know, it's a way to promote engagement. It's to kind of what they call gamify some of these actions. So people are, you know, okay, hey, let's get together and take some actions and see if we can, you know, get more actions than some other group. You can form yourself into, you know, and so here are some of the teams in Wayland, you know, the backyard growers, and, you know, just different groups, and they have different members, and they're calculating their actions. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you in terms of this site is the impact. So here we are showing, here in Wayland, they've set themselves some goals, and it's really important to have goals to work towards. We all are motivated by goals. And then you can, with a click of a button, you can actually see how many households have taken action, what the individual actions are. And then here you can also show in different areas how many actions have been taken in Wayland so far by all of its registered users. And I'm going to talk a little bit about registered users and non-registered users in a minute, but here are the metrics. And you can see that we have the self-reported actions, and then there are these two bars, the self-reported actions and the actions that are what we call state or partner reported. And we found that this is really important because it's really important to know not just the actions that people say they're doing, but you can see, for example, here, we asked the number of people in Wayland to self-report how many people drove electric cars. So 110 people said, yeah, raised their hand, said, yes, I drive an electric car. But we contacted the DOT, the state DOT, who told us actually Wayland has 599 EVs registered in the town. So clearly the self-reporting was under what the actual number was. So it's really important, but for example, here you can see that these are pretty comparable, the self-report and the external report. So this data is really for your use, and it really allows you as the community, as the community organizers, to really track the impacts that this site is having. Okay, so I'm going to share one more website, one more screen, and then I'll wrap up and be happy to take questions. So I'm just going to do one more, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk a little bit about the users of the site. So we have a site that is called our demo site, and I'm going to share my screen once more, and you're going to see how this, so here's a demo site, and I'm actually logged in, so I'm going to sign out right now. So this is a site that you are welcome to use and sign up. Anybody can sign up. We don't really want you signing up for Energize Wayland, but this is just kind of a site that anybody can use. We call it Energize Demo. It's a place for you to play around, to take a look, to see how the site is set up. But what I want to say is that we don't require individuals to create a profile. Anybody can come onto the site. Anybody can take action, and our analytics will record any action taken. So if Sustainable Sharon has a site and anybody can come and use it, but we do like to have people sign up. So I'm going to show you what happens. Right now, I'm an unregistered user, and I'm poking around the site, and I'm saying, hey, okay, I'm going to read the testimonials. I'm going to take an action. But what happens when you join? Here, and so here, we encourage people to join, and I'm just going to join using my Google profile, and here you go. So okay, so now I'm registered on the site, and you'll see what happens when I take an action as a registered user. Now it calculates how many actions I've done. And you can see all of these actions have I can register as something I want to do, something I have done, or I just have more information. So let's just say so these are calculating now it's calculating my actions because I'm a registered user. So I've taken 13 actions and I've saved the equivalent carbon of 100 trees. So let's just say I want to do something. So here I'm going to mark, I'm going to eat a more plant-rich diet. And so here it is. It asks me, I've done it, and it asks me, when did I do it? And I'm not going to take here's my completion date. Let's just say I just completed it. And I say, okay, I'm done. And you can see now I get all of this confetti, which is like, hey, congratulations. You just took another climate action. And you can see over here that my count has just gone up. So again, we try to make our sites as interactive as possible. Okay, so I have just one or two more slides to wrap up, and then I'm happy to take questions. So I'm just going to go one more time to the site and just finish up sharing some of my screen here. And here we go. Well, here, hang on a second. Let's go into this view. And sorry, here I'm going to go to slide view. Sorry, I'm needing to get back. Well, you know what? I mean, basically, I was going to talk a little bit more about the community of practice and a few of the other features of our site. Here we go. Okay, so here I just have a few more things I'm going to share with you about the community of practice. Here, I'm going to just get here, share my screen one more time. And so here's just a few more views, and then I'm happy to take questions. So I demonstrated the live site. Now here's just a few more images about, this is what the back end of the site looks like. So you saw what the user site looks like, but we set you up with a back end administrative profile and an administrative access to your site so that you can update it. And I'm not going to go through and demonstrate that right now, but I'm just saying that you have the ability. We train you on how to use the site, so you become an administrator of your own site, and you join a small group of community administrators who can share resources with each other, ask questions of each other, and we teach you how to use the site. Okay, and then finally, we have a couple of the other things that I mentioned. You join a community of practice, so you're with other leaders and organizers who we come together monthly for calls, for support, for sharing of resources, and all of our users, all of our community leaders find this to be a really, really great aspect. The opportunity to ask questions, to share, to engage with others in their same, in other communities, but in their same role. And then finally, you would be joining a growing community of users and platform users across the state. So you can see that we have all kinds of communities. We've got grassroots groups, we've got religious organizations, we've got schools, and we are, encouraging finding more and more use among environmental justice communities as well. We're really trying to put our platform and our tools in people's hands who are, kind of from underserved communities. So you can see here's our growth trajectory. Okay, and so that's my presentation. I'll stop here and love to just have a chance to answer questions. So thank you for your patience with.
Thank you so much. We'll give a little Zoom round of applause. Thank you. Feel free to ask questions, folks. Yeah, and I'll start off by saying, so a couple of things. Ralph asked me to say, okay, a couple of things. How much would this cost? So as a community in Sharon, you have roughly 2,000, 2,100 households in your community. So you would be at, it would be $1,000 to set up. And then so it's $1,000 setup fee. And then it would be $450 annually.
So it's set up and 1 year of service. And then it would be $450 every year after that. So we have 3 tiers. We have small communities, mid-sized communities, and large communities. And Sharon would be a small community. So that, and our fee structure is very transparent. It's on our website. So that was one of the questions that I think Ralph wanted me to address. But yes, Paul, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, I'm having trouble finding out about rebates and zero interest loans for, in particular, a nonprofit here in Sharon that I'm involved with. So I wonder what you guys provide. If there's anything like on that Wayland website, if someone lived in Wayland, how would they find out about what subsidies, zero interest loans or rebates would be available if they wanted to install heat pumps, for example? Could I find the answer to that?
Sure. Yeah. So what we try to do is we try to be a clearinghouse of all, as much information as we can. Now, we can't obviously stay on top of everything. But for example, in our community of practice, we spent a whole evening just talking about the IRA and the various incentives. So that's the kind of thing we share with the community leaders, and we share resources that they can then share with their community. So for example, now zero interest loans I don't know about, but incentives, we have a whole document on decarbonizing incentives, everything from heat pumps to EV vehicles to EV charging. Our community of practice just 2 nights ago was all about EVs, not about the makes and models, but about how to promote EVs. And we brought in people from the state utilities to talk about the incentives that they were providing to low income, high income, different communities. And so we try to infuse you, community leaders and organizers, with as much information as possible so that you are prepared to answer those questions when they come up by your residents. So somebody in Sharon says, hey, Sustainable Sharon, what can you tell me about IRA incentives for heat pumps? Well, then you could refer to us, or you could get some of download some of our resources for your page and put it on your page for heat pumps, and you could refer people to that. So we do try to basically give as much support and information to you as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Kathy.
Oh, hi. I have a couple of questions. Are you finding that cities and towns use this tool, or is it primarily local grassroots groups like Sustainable Sharon? That's one question. And then the other one is, how are you doing the calculations to generate the environmental benefits from these individual actions? I'd like to hear about those.
Yeah, no, very good questions. Thank you. So part one question was who's using this? Really, among our 25 communities, it runs the gamut. We have cities so for example, Melrose. It's the city of Melrose, or is Melrose a town? I'm not sure. But it's the town of Melrose, or the city of Melrose, that actually is the member, and they use city funds, and it is the city sustainability director who is the community administrator. So that's Melrose. On the other hand, Medfield is completely just the Sustainable Medfield group. They're not affiliated to the town or city. They don't have any official ties, and they are a local grassroots group. So I would say about maybe half to a little more are grassroots groups like yourselves. And then probably, maybe a third are maybe cities or towns, and the official, the official town sustainability director is the community leader. And then we have a few other kind of ad hoc groups. So it really runs the gamut, but I would say roughly half, if not a little bit more, would be communities just like yours. And then the second part of your question was, how do we measure those metrics? So we actually have a data analyst on our team, and we have drawn as much state data as we can. So when somebody takes an action, now I want to be transparent here. When somebody takes an individual action, we can't tell you the actual impact of that individual action. You know, an individual bought an EV, right? What we do is we aggregate state data. So an individual buying an EV and using an EV, I can't tell you in the town of Sharon, you know, what that impact is, but I can tell you at the state level what the impact is. So what we're doing is we're aggregating state level data so that the impact metrics are not unique to you as a single individual, but they are accurate at the state level, but not at the individual level. That would be way too difficult for us to do. So we are constantly working with state and, you know, and to get as much data as we can. And so we have put together a carbon calculator that we run all of our actions through that are accurate for across the state of Massachusetts. But as I said, they're not accurate at the individual level. Does that help? Does that answer the kind of is that what you were looking for? I mean, did I answer the question, Kathy?
For the most part, definitely the first question. The second question, I was thinking about like the EPA's WARM model. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it has to do with waste, and it's already an existing calculator that's federal. So I you know, if Sharon were to proceed with it, I'd be really interested to see what kind of calculator you use.
Sure, and we'd be happy to I'd be happy to, you know, have you speak to our data analyst who really works a lot on the back end. She's constantly updating, and whenever the state releases new data, we're integrating that into our website design, so that we're getting as accurate as possible. But those individual actions really are intended on the site, are intended to be motivational more than they are intended to be precise. Exactly, this is your precise impact. It's really intended to show you at the aggregated state level what impact that action is having. So,
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yes, Ralph.
Yeah, hi. Let me stick with the metrics for a moment. So,
Sure.
are you getting any town level data? You know, if people have to get permits to do some work on their house, whether it's solar or heat pumps, are you including that data when you show what's been done?
Yes, and so in fact, you know, remember those two graphs? One is the self-report, and then one is either the state or third party. So one thing that we do also is we contact, you know, the solar installers, for example, in a community. And so you can say, oh, you know, 28 people installed, you know, heat pumps in Sharon last month. But then we're also going to the installers to say, how many did you install? So we as much as possible, we're trying to corroborate, and you can see that there's a difference in those graphs. So it's impossible to exactly corroborate and corroborate data. But yes, we're getting information from the state. We're also getting information from vendors, installers, particularly. We've recently managed to get information from the DOT, as I mentioned. So we're getting town level. So the DOT will give you town level data. I mean, I can't tell you right now, but I could find out, or you could find out, how many EVs are registered in the town of Sharon, you know, and that will differ from the number of people on your site saying, hey, I have an EV. Now, ideally, you want those to be the same, but they're hardly ever the same. So you try to, you know, get the best data you can from as many different sources as you can. Yeah. So yes, we are using, besides state data, we're using vendor data, we're using, you know, DOT data, we're using all these data sources that we can.
We're running short on time.
Okay.
So Ralph asked maybe another question or two, but Nathan, would you be willing to answer questions by email also, and I can share with the group?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
well, let me just, if I can just raise and have
Please.
you address the challenges of setting it up.
Right. Okay.
You know,
Yes.
about how long is it taking towns or groups to get started, and then the challenge of getting residents to use it. Because when you look at most of your towns, it seems like the most of the actions are from your data sources, not self-reported. And I'm sure all the towns want to get everybody in the community aware of it, and having them be aware, use it for education, but also use it to tell us what you've done. So, how is that going for your
Yeah, no,
clients?
thank you. That's a good question. So one thing that we do like to say is that this website does not promote itself. In other words, the number of people who come to it are dependent on your actions. We will promote you, but only you can promote, residents in Sharon to engage. So we try to we try to help you with that. And we actually have one thing that I didn't have time to show you is we have a whole playbook on best practices for doing outreach in your community. So, social media posts, town fairs, Sharon Green Day, I'll come to Sharon Green Day and talk about this site if you want. But, so basically it really is up to you to promote the site, to get as many users as you can, putting it in in newsletters in the town, promoting it, however and wherever you can in the town to get as many users as you can. I mean, that's really up to you, but we give you ideas. So that is a challenge. The only other challenge, and then if I'll just mention this last challenge, which is that it does take time to set up the site because it is a fully customizable site. We can turn it on tomorrow, but it'll just be an empty shell. So we have to train you in how to use it. So that takes some time. And then it does take you as a town or as a community, your grassroots group, it does take you some time to get all the actions and put all the photos in place and get everything set up. We find that it takes a community roughly 40 hours to get everything set and ready and vetted and in its correct place and ready to launch till your site is active. So that takes some time. You have to meet as a community.
Yeah, right. And just a quick question, and Marlena had her hand up, so I can only imagine what she's thinking, because Marlena and Dave Slater, Dave worked very hard on our Sustainable Sharon website. And Marlena, is that what you're going to say?
That's my question was, how many of your grassroots communities use this as their main website, or do they somehow meld it with another one that might do, besides just actions, it might be doing fundraising and other things like that?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't mention that. Yeah, so again, it really varies. Some towns use it, and those 4 buttons, the action button, the event button, those are fully customizable as well. So you can actually have links to other sites. You can have different groups being promoted, your sustainable gardeners groups, or you can make it an umbrella, or you can link it to another site. In the case of Newton, for example, Green Newton, as you probably know, is a very active group. They were around a lot longer than MassEnergize has been around, but Green Newton is one of our communities, and they use it as a sub site to the Green Newton site. So because they didn't want to lose all their users to Green Newton, so we are a part of their site. And in other cases, we are the main site, and then other groups link to that. So what's nice about the site is that it can be a main site, it can be a sub-site, it can link to other sites, and we are happy to help you set it up in whatever way you want.
Okay, thank you so much. I really have to cut it off because my meetings end at 8:30, and I want to make sure that we end at 8:30. If people want to hang around just for 5 minutes, after the meeting, we can have a quick discussion about this, because Nathan has signed up for a table at Sharon Green Day, but rightly so. He was saying it's not really worth having a table if he's actually not going to be part of Sharon. MassEnergize won't be Sharon won't have MassEnergize. So I don't want to leave you hanging, Nathan. So we can talk about.
Great, and so thank you very much. I'm sorry if we've run over time, but I'm happy to answer further questions by email or otherwise. Even have a call if people would feel more comfortable with that. So
thank you so much.
Okay,
take care.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Yeah, great presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I want to stop recording.